All right, and we're back for an episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Jesse Norman, Stephen Bologna, and Stephen Clark.
Hey.
And we're here to talk about the business season of the NFL, and that is all the surprising bombshell news drops that came out today, which is Russell Wilson, surprisingly, is now a Denver Bronco. Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay, as well as we also had players who were tagged and those who weren't, where some of them were extended, and a notable name is hitting the market more than likely. So before we get into all of the news around the NFL, guys, what's going on?
Sad day.
Going on is the things you said.
That is true.
I'm upset. Really thought there for a second Washington was going to get Russ. Had my jugular ripped out, and he's heading out west.
Actually, staying out west, technically.
Bologna, do you believe that he just said no to Washington, or that?
Well,
I
I'm hearing different things.
So the Around the NFL podcast, they tweeted out that basically Denver was the only team Russ would have gone to.
I saw that.
That makes sense.
But then I did see that Seattle just never wanted to trade him in the NFC, which if that's the case, I hope this way it's like Washington didn't undervalue an offer or lose out on him. But
it sounds like they sent a lot. They sent more first round picks. They sent 3 and a few 2s. So, let's dial this back. Let's start with the move that basically set this all in motion. And that is, of course, the news coming out around, I think it was like 10:45 our time or 11:45 our time, give or take, that Aaron Rodgers would be staying with the Green Bay Packers and coming back of reportedly signing a deal upwards worth about $200 million over 4 years with 153 guaranteed. So with bonuses,
he said, but he put out that those numbers
wasn't
are not true.
Yeah,
you got to assume though it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be in the $45 to $50 million range because that's what this came out of, and I would assume it's in that ballpark. Which, if that's the ballpark, that is a quarter of the team's entire cap, which is absolutely insane. But good for the Packers. You keep your 2-time MVP back-to-back at least in-house for at least 2 to 3 years because we don't know how the deal is actually going to be structured, if he has opt-outs and all that stuff. But one person who's probably extremely upset is Jordan Love because he is stuck in quarterback limbo right now because Rodgers ain't going anywhere. And by the time this deal would hypothetically be done, he would also be a free agent. So
you got to trade him.
Initial thoughts on Rodgers coming back to Green Bay.
It always made the most sense.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead, Jesse.
I mean, it's the best situation for him. As much as he cries and moans about the team that is around him, it's a good team. I don't think anybody's arguing that. He has the best receiver in football. The line last year wasn't up to its standards, and it was still like a top half line. The defense has playmakers all over, probably less
now
if he's taken all that money.
Well, but Za'Darius is getting cut.
Za'Darius is gone, which he didn't play pretty much at all last year anyway.
Devontae got the tag, which I don't know if they're going to be able to work out a long-term deal or not. But then they're also going to work on Jair Alexander, so maybe that costs them his services long-term as well. If they decide to keep Adams for the remainder of Rodgers' tenure,
Scantling's going to be gone. They can't afford him.
No.
Well, yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of guys that we need to see kind of what they do with them moving forward. I think Rashawn Gary is going to be.
He's a rookie, or he's still on his rookie deal.
I know. I'm saying he's going to be up for one though, and he's gonna want some money because he's been really good the past year.
He's been very productive for them. Prior to PC.
Yeah.
Who you? You are.
No, he's a free agent with his option in 2024.
Yeah,
so he's got 2 more
to get ready to. Yeah, he's going to be really expensive. They're going to get rid of Preston probably as well.
Yeah,
this is going to be interesting, but it's just the best.
But here's my thing. Probably. I agree, but they couldn't win it last year, and now they're just subtracting. They're not adding. I know free agency has yet to hit, but with this contract, what are they going to be able to do? They're going to be losing edge rushers. Devondre Campbell's a free agent. I don't
But
understand.
let's be honest too. That defense gave up what 25 points per game, roughly. That team. And
Yeah,
that
but
defense,
it had stretches where it
but
was
they
really
also
good.
they also relied on Aaron Rodgers putting up 30 to 35 points a game with mediocre talent around him for the most part. And as long as you keep Rodgers there, they are going to win the North and he will get them to the playoffs. Being a Colts fan now and who was spoiled from going from Peyton to Luck and now 4, potentially 5 years of different quarterbacks, it is a luxury to have a franchise quarterback like Rodgers. As long as you have someone there, Jesse with Big Ben, you're entering the unknown now. You keep Rodgers in-house as much as you are throwing the house at him, he will get them to the playoffs. And at that point, that's all you need. Granted, they haven't had much success in the playoffs, but getting to the playoffs and losing is a lot better than being in quarterback limbo. And clearly, if they are willing to throw this much money at him, they are not set on Jordan Love, or they're okay with playing the waiting game even longer till he goes. But at that point,
there's no.
You got to pay him.
Well, at this point, you know that he's not developed into the quarterback that you wanted him to be.
Maybe the Kansas City game also accelerated this process of, oh God, we might have gotten this wrong, so let's just stick with what we know.
I think they might have known it even earlier, but I mean, it looks so bad when you traded up for him just to know like you whiffed the pick. I think also we need to kind of be a little bit nicer to Green Bay with the instance of, Rodgers doesn't have weapons. He probably has the best backfield duo in the NFC right now with Aaron Jones and Dillon. I mean, Jones can be like a legit slot receiver on teams too.
And Dillon's a sledgehammer of a running back. Like he is just
he's a tank.
And once again, Devontae is literally probably the best receiver in the NFL. It's just absurd how they don't get anywhere in the playoffs, but you have to just keep trying. You have to try to make it to the playoffs because once you get there, just like the Bengals this year, anything can happen. When the playoffs started, was anybody picking the Bengals to make the Super Bowl? No, but then things happened and they got there.
Well, but it's also like, that's the thing. Look at the North. Lions are far away. Vikings, they're in turnover with a whole new front office and coaching staff, and the Bears are the Bears who they'll just never get it right, it seems. So it's like, sign me up for winning the division another 2 to 3 years and potentially getting an MVP run out of Rodgers. Yeah, sign me up for that.
It's a smart move. I mean, like you alluded to earlier, Justin, you need that one piece, that franchise quarterback, and they have him locked up probably till the end of his career. Granted, any whatever.
Does he play to the end of his contract? Probably not. Maybe because since he already floated the idea of retiring. But
probably wins one championship.
Maybe he'll go the Ben Roethlisberger route and mention retirement, and then get so pissed off anytime somebody mentions him.
And here's the thing: he's 38 years old, and who knows where? Obviously, the guaranteed money is going to be front loaded. So maybe he plays till 40 and retires. Maybe it's just an extra cushion right now to make it seem like he might go a little, because that would put him at 42. So maybe he just plays till 40 and then hangs it up. And then at that point, you can tag Devontae and eat the money, kind of like what the Saints are doing with Michael Thomas at that point.
I think I agree with Justin. He's not going to pay out the full contract because from what Schefter said that he was heavily considering retirement, you don't go from, I don't know if I want to play this game anymore to, sign me up for 4 more years. So that,
I don't know. I think it's a leverage thing. Again, I know it's not exactly a thing, but like Ben did that. Ben pitched retirement multiple times, and then anytime somebody would be like, are you thinking about retirement, he'd be like, no, and then they pay him $35 million.
It could have been easily, literally, by them drafting Jordan Love, put in Rodgers to have a spike contract, basically, and staying there.
That's true.
He's got to be traded.
I think that's absolutely what they have to do.
The other portion of it too, of why it always made sense for him to stay in Green Bay, and I mean, we'll talk about this with the next trade, is if a team trades for you, they have to give up assets. It's the old New York Knicks and Carmelo Anthony situation. The Knicks were good. Carmelo wanted to go. He wanted to go right now. They traded everything that made him good. Like
And
that's
then they were a
kind
shell
of
of
the
that team.
situation. It's so if anybody traded for Rodgers and you're trading for 2 to 3 years of Rodgers and you end up trading 4 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and a young player, and he only plays for 2 years and you don't win a Super Bowl, you're going to look real stupid.
Yeah, like the idea of the
Yeah.
first round picks, because like if you're going in on a guy, you have to believe that okay, he's going to get us to where we want to be, which means these picks will be towards the back end of the first round. And at that point, are you okay with giving them up? And also to be maybe however long you think they'll be on your team, maybe that's how many picks you give up. But also you can only trade 3 first round picks consecutively in the NFL.
I don't want to sound like I'm, too much of a pro draft guy. But like even with like trading a lot of first rounders, and don't get me wrong, I love the Broncos deal. We'll talk about that. So I'm not a guy that's like never trade your picks. But this isn't like the NBA where like
They mean nothing.
once you get to 14, it falls off. Like you can find really good players.
Lamar Jackson
at,
was
like,
32.
20 through 32. Like I still think like when you're trading in the NFL first round picks, that's still a big deal because there are incredible prospects.
Well, and the fact is
all
too, if you
throughout
hit
the
on
draft.
an instant superstar, they're cheap for 4 to 5 years. That's the
Yeah, and then that's how
you
you can turn your team around so
of the
quickly.
draft.
But you do need to flip those picks because as much as I say there's great prospects at 20 through 32, the reality is 1 out of every 2 first round picks is a bust usually.
So now that we finally have our answer with Aaron Rodgers, that he's at least staying in Green Bay for the foreseeable future, he kind of set the tone for the offseason because it's like, okay, whatever he does, we'll see what happens next. And the next move came very quick and very surprising. And that was Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos, which broke maybe about an hour and a half later, basically.
2 o'clock kind of.
It was in the
1:30.
1 o'clock hour, I think, actually. Yeah,
I
it was
have,
like 1:35.
I have to assume the Packers and Rodgers told Denver a couple weeks ago
I
that
don't
they
think
were
so
staying.
either. I don't think
Schefter said that they've been working on a deal for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Denver and Seattle.
True. And maybe
So I'd
once
have
Denver
to assume that
heard-
Rodgers maybe was like, "Hey, I'm probably leaning towards staying," and
Bobby
Denver
Wagner got
immediately
released.
What?
got
Whoa,
released.
hey,
Wow.
yo.
They could have.
Breaking
They
news.
probably did him a solid because he could have
Sign
been
him to
traded.
fucking Indy, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, that'll go into my point with the
Oh
Russ
God,
deal.
he would be so good with the Rams.
I thought you were going to say
He
the
would
Steelers.
never. He would.
So they're
no,
going full
no.
rebuild now.
Yeah.
they're
So
done.
so
DK's
what?
next?
Oh yeah. So obviously in the Russell Wilson trade, the bombshell was that they were getting 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, and D lineman Shelby Harris. So they gave up a lot, but they get a Hall of Fame quarterback and their best quarterback since Peyton Manning, because between now and then they had 11 different starting quarterbacks, which is astonishing to me that they had that many. Didn't feel like it, but here they are. Denver is going all in. They have their guy. Russ only wanted to go to Denver or stay in Seattle. And now it looks like with Bobby Wagner, who was the last remnant of the Legion of Boom and that Super Bowl team, this team is heading for a straight rebuild, surprisingly. So we will probably see more pieces get sold off. But
What
initial
about
thoughts,
Carroll?
maybe.
He'll
Like,
stay.
what is Pete Carroll doing in this whole
I
situation?
think he stays. They need
He's
that
like the
veteran
pseudo
presence.
owner right now.
He's
so,
basically the kind of the GM. He kind of fell into the Belichick role once Paul Allen died.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they have Schneider, but he has final say over the roster.
So initial thoughts, obviously Denver's gave up a lot of assets, but Seattle's getting a ton back to reset the clock and reset this team as they've kind of slowly trending downward the past few years, but that Russ has also been hurt here and there, but Denver has their guy. We all said, and even Vic Fangio, their former head coach, basically went out in his press conference saying you need a quarterback, and now they have their quarterback. So Denver is all in, and the AFC West just got a whole hell of a lot harder, and so did the AFC as a whole.
I
man.
mean, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Seattle. Cheers. Seattle. I mean, they're ripping it down. That's pretty
Good for
apparent.
them.
But
Good that they actually realized that they needed to trade
I-
Russ.
And that was
Totally
a
agree.
10-year,
But
great
here's-
10-year run.
Yeah, fantastic 10-year run, and they're going into a rebuild. And they didn't get a single blue chip prospect that the Denver Broncos have.
You think
The
Jamal
Denver
Adams is next?
Broncos,
Maybe that'd be funny.
maybe, but
What a
they
bust
wouldn't.
of a
I doubt
bust of
it.
a trade. It's
I
already
doubt
a
it
bust of a
because-
trade, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the league doesn't value safeties the way
Jesse,
Seattle does.
like you were saying, when it came out that they're getting players back, it was like, okay, Drew Lock, that's a given. But, they didn't even want friggin' Teddy Bridgewater. So that just kind of signaled where they were going.
Well, yeah,
And
and,
it's
then you're like, oh,
it's like
they
Shelby
should have
Harris,
Mr.
it-
Commander
Surtain
Teddy
or-
Bridgewater.
No, but then it's like, oh, Shelby Harris. It's like they
Fuck
always
you, man.
they always love having their D line. But then it's like, oh, a young up and coming offensive player. It's like, oh, maybe it's one of the wide receivers or like Javonte Williams or something. It's like Noah Fant. It's like, that's the one you picked. It's like,
I mean,
it's like you had
I-
Gerald Everett. It's like, wouldn't you have wanted maybe Jerry Judy, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton? No.
yeah, any of them.
Bradley
Any of-
Chubb, you literally didn't have a pass rush at all last year. Bradley Chubb is there. I mean,
I thought they were going to get like KJ Hamler or something. So the fact that they got Fant is actually kind of good in my opinion.
Albert,
Because he was just drafted.
I can't even say the last name.
yeah, Fant's young, and I mean,
No,
he's
Fant's
fine.
good,
Like, he'll
but it's still
probably
like that's not like the
be-
player
you
I
could
would
have had.
expect you
That's
wanted
not
back.
the player.
It's not a generational.
Well, and the
tight
fact
end.
that you only got 2 first-round picks, I mean, I don't want to crap on him because he just won the Super Bowl, but they got Stafford for 2 first-rounders when
Yes.
Stafford, you were buying low on him.
Yep.
How did you get Russell Wilson?
For
And you
two.
only had to give up 2 firsts,
Should have been 3 or 4.
good
then I-
defensive lineman, but guess what? It's a defensive lineman, a young tight end that you can hit on pretty much anywhere in like the 3rd to 4th round.
Yep.
So like Fant at that point, Fant's equivalent to like a 3rd or a 4th round pick. Shelby Harris is probably equivalent to another 3rd or 4th round pick. And Drew Lock is the equivalent of like a 6th round pick. You did not get back enough
He
compensation
could
for
easily
Russell Wilson.
like Russell Wilson just coming to the Broncos. He's already their 3rd best quarterback of all time, basically.
yeah, the second he
Yeah, pretty
walks through
much.
the door.
Yeah.
What am I don't know if I'm missing something, but
Yes.
what is the big sell for Denver? Why does everybody want
I
to
think
go
it's
to
just
Denver?
the
The
offensive weapon.
weapons.
It's the weapons, the offense,
The defense.
the defense. It's a
The
great
youth.
supporting cast.
It's young.
I think it's also Nathaniel Hackett is kind of the next kind of hot offensive coach prospect, because he is coming
Colorado's
from,
also like beautiful, and at this point is like California second.
but also it's like
It's like so
he's coming.
expensive and nice.
He's coming from the LaFleur coaching tree, so it's just the allure there,
But
basically.
I
And
feel
also,
like it's been like this way for years.
well, because
Like
they-
I
everybody
think
wants
it's
to go to
been
Denver.
it's been the Wilson. They've always had weapons since everybody's left.
well, really,
They just
Had
haven't
Peyton
gotten the
Manning, too.
quarterback.
like the post Peyton Manning era, like they never really like bottomed out. Like their lowest pick was Bradley
No.
Chubb, which I think was like 4-5 maybe. And after that,
Yeah.
they were always like on the upswing. Like say what you want about John Elway, like he sucks at drafting quarterbacks and developing, but he can build a supporting cast for a veteran to come there and win. That's the allure of it, I think.
He just needs to he just needs to wait for that veteran to come.
And they got
he's
their
got
guy
one.
now.
They got it.
Yeah,
Now-
no, I think it's a fantastic trade for
Now,
them.
what does
Seattle
this,
needs to hit on their picks.
yes, they do, because
That's
they
their-
They got to take a quarterback 9th overall.
well, yeah, they inherit the 9th overall pick, so maybe
That's-
Malik Willis,
Or Pickett.
Yep. Yeah, basically.
and you'll lose out on both of them.
There goes
Yep.
another one for
Most
some-
likely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where does this put Denver now in the AFC picture as a whole, and even the AFC West? Because you have Herbert, Mahomes, and Derek Carr.
Oh God, I don't want to talk about the AFC picture, man.
It's hard.
like,
It's
who-
tough.
It's
I was talking to Clark.
just off the top of my head. Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City, top 3 right there. Now you add Denver in. Then you factor in teams like Baltimore. You got Pittsburgh. You have the Browns who have a stacked roster.
Patriots.
If Baker could figure it out. Patriots who have the best coach of all time. I mean,
As long as Tom
know
was
I'm
with Pittsburgh,
forgetting
they'll
teams.
win 9 games.
yeah, Pittsburgh. I mean, I know I'm forgetting
Carson Wentz
somebody
gets
else.
his head out of
Oh,
his
the
ass.
Colts.
Yeah, the
The
Indies
Colts,
are.
Titans, obviously.
It's
Yeah,
literally
it's
just like the
scary.
Jaguars and the Texans, and then everybody else.
Well, and the Jags just got a real
And the Jets.
coaching staff.
yeah.
So
So
they're
let's see,
gonna be
like,
up
they
there
might
soon,
not
too.
be. They might
Yeah,
not
it's
be a
stacked.
walkover.
but then it's just like
soon.
then the NFC now is just
Garbage.
Packers,
the third best.
Rams,
The third,
Niners. But the
the
drop
fourth
off is
best
massive.
quarterback. The fourth best quarterback in the NFC is either
Kirk
Taylor
Cousins.
Heineke.
Dak or Kirk Cousins. Yeah,
Jeez.
What a time
that's
to be
how
alive.
that's how the NFC is shaken out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to Clark, like if you don't
Hey.
win your division now, the AFC West could easily have all 3 wild card spots.
That'd be awesome. That'd be honestly kind of cool to see.
Like the Raiders made the playoffs. You know, obviously they didn't go anywhere, but it's
Almost. Hey,
the
they took it
Chargers
to the
almost
Bengals.
the Chargers could easily make it because Herbert, I think, is one of the elite quarterbacks that can will their team to a playoffs. He almost did.
Well, and they keep hitting on draft picks.
You know,
I mean,
and also
they're
at
getting
some
another
point
good
now,
player.
Denver is playing in Seattle this season, so that's gonna be Sunday night
Yeah.
football for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great, great move for Denver though.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's I agree. Good thing they got their guy Seattle. Yeah, maybe final with something
I
with Drew
give
Lock, but
them-
you definitely need a quarterback.
Like whoever said it, I give them credit for just ripping the Band-Aid off now and just cutting loose and just resetting. It's
Smart,
what you have
smart.
to do.
It's smart.
It's what you have. to do.
it's really the worst part of it all is that the Jamal Adams trade forced them into this,
Yeah.
and
That
Yeah.
handcuff them.
immediately, I mean, like, why did you trade for
Not
safety
not just
when
the
you
Jamal
value
Adams
safety?
trade, the Jamal Adams extension off the trade.
Yes,
That
that
too.
too. That
Yes.
too was a pretty big deal considering safety has never been, I don't want to say valued less, but there's just so many safeties
get paid-
that
they
you
get paid
can
like
sign
shit
for so
also.
cheap. Yeah, and I mean, you have a guy in the draft this year, Kyle Hamilton, who's probably the best safety prospect in years.
His
And-
measurables are awesome.
Oh, he's insane. And he might be a top 5 pick, but some people have him going as low as 15, 16
But there's
because
also-
nobody cares about safeties.
Like
And the Seahawks traded multiple
There's
first
also-
rounders for
there's
him.
like 3 to 4 good
Tyree
safeties.
dropped 50 tonight.
I
by
just
the
saw
way.
that. I just
I
saw
just
that.
saw just shoo.
But there's enough good safeties in the draft too that they easily could have replaced it. So it's really other than that, they'll be okay though. You know, as depending on what they do with Carroll, they're definitely in a weird spot. But great run though for the Seahawks. And it sucks to see
Good run.
their best quarterback of all time
Good
go
run.
out west, which is ironic that he's going to
Hasselbeck?
the team they beat in
Stop.
the Super Bowl, which I don't know how many times that's ever happened. Probably this has
Dogged them in
Zero.
the Super Bowl. Didn't
Yeah.
just
0.
this is the first time that's
first time ever.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Indeed, it is. So, any last thoughts on the Rodgers or Russ trade and moves?
Nope.
Nope. Cool. So let's just hit on the few things with the franchise tag because that was also the headline today. Bucks tag Chris Godwin. They're working on a long-term deal. Jags tag Cam Robinson. Cowboys
That
tag,
matters because now first
Very much
overall
so.
pick is up in the air. Because
Yeah.
if they don't tag Robinson, they're going
Evan Neal.
tackle.
Tackle.
and Evan
Yep.
Neal.
So now, well, there's a Conwu in there, there's Charles
Mhm.
Cross in there, there's Penning in there.
But it
but
opens up the
now
possibility for him.
That's
Well,
gonna
now
be
they can
Hutchinson.
just go best player available if they think it's Hutchinson,
or they
they
could
think
move
it's
back.
somebody else. And I think if it's
That too.
if Spielman comes in, I think they trade back, and I think that's the best move for them.
Yeah.
Then the Chiefs tagged Orlando Brown. Bengals tagged Jesse Bates. Brown surprisingly tagged David Njoku. Dolphins tagged Mike Gesicki. And Packers tagged Devontae Adams.
Cowboys
smart.
too. Going
Hasn't
Schultz.
Yeah.
Njoku asked for a trade like 3 times?
Yes.
and
Yep.
now all of a sudden they really want to make it work.
I guess
even
they-
though, well, Austin Hooper has a $16 million like cap
I
hit
guess
too.
they
He's
they-
gonna get released.
Yeah,
I
I'll
guess
get
they-
cut.
No,
Hey.
they said no. They said they're not releasing him.
Maybe they
They
Wow.
said
well,
they're not releasing
maybe
him.
maybe
They're
Jarvis
just keeping him.
Landry is on the way out, and they would prefer to throw
Yes.
Baker inside the numbers opposed to outside. And maybe they just feel that this wide receiver draft is good enough that they could find enough replacements at least. And then coming down the pipe recently, right before we started recording, Titans did not tag Harold Landry, but they signed him for 5 years, $87 million. So he is getting paid. And then earlier in the day, Chargers signed Mike Williams for 3 years for $60 million. So he had one good year and got the bag. And then as of
him.
right now, at least that I haven't seen, is that the Patriots did not tag JC Jackson. I don't know if they're working on an extension or not. So
Don't get
he
paid.
will
Nope.
be the top corner on the market. If they bring him back or
Insane.
not, that'll be yet to be seen, but he will definitely be a prized free agent.
I feel like Bill's the type of guy like, oh, you can
Mr.
walk.
Market.
I'll just bring in 4 guys here. I'll do the same job basically.
Exactly. I think he
Bill
wants
doesn't
to.
care about corners. He's always gotten corners.
If they're not willing to pay the franchise tag on JC, he's
gone.
He's gone.
Unless
I
they
think
have an
he's gonna-
extension, like you said, but I doubt it.
Well, JC wants allegedly 20 mil plus.
That's a lot.
He wants
Colts can pay it.
lockdown corner money.
Yeah, we're not
So
getting
he better be a
Colts can
lockdown
afford
corner.
Rodgers,
not anymore.
Devontae.
Not anymore.
I mean, we could still afford them.
So, and then other news is that Cowboys are likely to cut Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence because they did not ask them to restructure.
But
they
they're
wanted a pay
working on
cut.
a $12 million extension for Gallup.
And then what was the leading story in the world of the NFL for all of about 24 hours is that Calvin Ridley is suspended for 1 year due to betting on the Falcons back in
Jesse
February
got in
on
his
a
head,
3,
man.
5, and
Jesse
8
did it.
parlay. So
I
he
hate
is
this
an-
so much.
He is an
This
idiot.
is so stupid.
It is. I'm going back to like
he's
the Brady
Yeah, but-
suspensions and all that, being suspended only 4 games for like cheating in a game. This dude, like
Ray
didn't, like,
Rice
influence the
decking
outcomes
his
of games.
fiance in a elevator on video.
Yeah, like literally,
Zeke
like,
sexually
just-
assaulting a girl in public. Yeah, no,
Just
no.
suspend him
No
like
problem with that.
And it's like-
5 games.
and I get,
max,
like, I
max
get,
5
Like I
games.
get they want to do the integrity of the game because it's like, oh, he dropped a pass, he sucks, but now he drops a pass and he's betting. It's like, oh, maybe he has a thing.
He was
for
betting
over-under
for the
percent.
Falcons to
I
win.
understand. I understand, and that's why I think.
I think it's totally different if the guy's betting his unders.
or
He also
betting
wasn't
for the team to
playing
lose.
too.
Yeah, he was.
wasn't
He also
playing.
wasn't playing.
I understand. I know. I think obviously they want to make an example out of him because they also did dodge a bullet that it was only $1,500 and that he was betting on his team to win. What if it was a lot more money and he was playing and betting on the team to lose? That's a
See,
whole nother
that-
story. That
I get if it was like that. If he was betting on the lose and then like text messages leak of like, hey, drop a pass here, blah blah blah. But
None of that happened.
none of that happened exactly.
and that's why
So,
maybe he should get an 8-game suspension.
yeah, max 5, I say.
I honestly thought they should have started at 10 and then he should have been able to appeal and get it down
Mhm.
to like 6.
And as of right now,
I
it
can't believe a full year.
And as of right now, it's a year suspension. And in February of 23, he can apply for reinstatement. So the NFL can very well say, no, you're done.
Yeah, no, they
Wow.
can just decline him like they did with Josh Gordon.
For all
The
those
last
years,
time
yeah.
that they suspended Gordon, it was supposed to be a 1-year suspension that ended up being like 2.5 years.
And now we know why all of the trade talks for him were shot down because the Falcons, in good faith, did not trade him. Because if they did trade him and they knew that this was a thing, they would be in a world of problems as well. So that ends that for right now. And that's the NFL for right now. And the legal tampering period starts on Sunday, I believe. So we'll have another podcast with free agency and the first wave of everyone moving and grooving that week for sure. So, yeah, you like that one?
I love that one.
Moving and
So when
grooving.
all of that comes out, Clark, where can everyone watch your podcasts and listen
Hey,
to
you know, the YouTube, the Apple Podcast, the Spotify. You can follow and subscribe on those. We do our social media stuff on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at SportsDepPod. That's Sports DEPT Pod. Yeah, I don't know what's coming up besides what Justin just said because
Maybe baseball, they're edging close.
They're
to
talking tonight, baby. They're
Yeah,
talking tonight.
and people
I've
like their
I've been getting updates that like
it sounds like it's
there's
close.
still like
Close, but not close at the same time.
I've been
Yeah.
seeing like a lot of major stuff. Like there's like right here, first tweet, a big issue. MLB wants to add a surcharge level to the luxury tax. MLB wants to
Ugh.
put in it's a lot.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
I don't know
hope
if
for
it's
the
gonna
best.
get done tonight, but if it does, then we can finally do predictions for the season because we got to get those. We can honestly bang this out.
Yeah,
whenever.
but we don't know
So-
what free agents are. Who knows? But whatever.
Exactly, because baseball's I don't know horrible right now.
Still waiting for Jesse to get his draft notes done so we can do a mock as well.
I wanted to
that
make
too.
sure the combine was fully done.
Yeah, he needs all the measurables.
He needs all the stats.
I need all the measurements. Yeah,
He needs to
facts.
measure the hands.
Mm.
Yeah,
Kenny Pickett,
Pickett's got
8.5.
small hands.
8.5 small hands.
But-
And so stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.